My name is Kristy Gordon and my practice is multimedia, I suppose. I work across drawing as in the expanded field, so often sculpture. It begins with digital drawings usually repetitive mark making. So I'm all about taking time with the artwork to contemplate and think about my subject. The thrill of being in a site-specific garden space. Honestly, Eden Gardens is a truly beautiful place and I'm really excited to be a part of this show. The idea of making art in a natural environment is really important to my practice. I really like working in site-specific locations where I get to respond to the place and make art that feels significant, that feels like it belongs in the world, in the natural world. I've got 2 works in Eden Gardens this year for the first time. Very excited. My first work is a smaller work. It's called The Answer is Blowing in the Wind, and it's a watercolour painted work on tracing paper, which I've then coated in resin. And I've made about hundreds of leaves. And in making each of the leaves, I'm thinking about noticing nature, and I believe that if we spend time noticing nature, then we're more likely to take care of it as well. So this work is a sort of pensive work about place and about the importance of the environment and about taking time and taking care. My second work is called Cloudspace, and it is the biggest and most ambitious project I've ever taken on. It began as a digital drawing, and it's an interpretation of the sky and the openness of space, thinking about sky spaces as places of inspiration and provoking a sense of peace, I suppose. The challenge of The Answer is Blowing in the Wind was simply making a paperwork withstand the elements for 6 months. So that was quite simple. I just had to rethink my materiality, and so that was a reasonable challenge, but well covered. I think the hardest one, definitely Cloudspace. The challenges were just to scale up so dramatically. So working in digital drawings is not like just doing a small drawing and then making it bigger. You actually have to draw to the size just as you would on a piece of paper. So I had to learn new programming. I had to understand how to print on such a large scale as well, and the time it takes to make it. It took many weeks to draw that image on its own. The sculptural component is part of my regular practice, and I was quite comfortable with that, but it's also the biggest sculpture I've ever tried to make. And you'll see it's quite delicate. It's made of plywood, but it's finely balanced, and I guess the challenges of that are just making sure that it will hang in space for 6 months successfully. The artist stipend at Eden is incredibly generous and really thoughtful for artists. As an artist, it's very difficult to expand your practice for the cost of making. I mean, making these large installations is really expensive, and I think without having an artist stipend, it would be very I would have found it much harder to try something new, to really explore and push my practice further, which I feel like I really have done with the 2 works that I'm putting into Eden this year. So I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to make something big and make it work. Having art in a public space is relatively new. I've only really been doing that for a couple of years, and I mean, these opportunities are not very common anyway. But for me, they are a really important part of my practice, because I think, you have your general audience that will go to an art gallery or a museum. The works are very curated. They're quite, they're beautiful, but they're also sometimes not curated the way you would want them, perhaps. I think also in a public space like this, you get a chance to work with community and actually show art in an accessible way to people who may not otherwise go to a museum. So yes, there's an accessibility that makes it a really special event to be a part of, but I think even more important than that is the opportunity to interplay with the environment that your work is about. So I consider myself a landscape artist, and working within the landscape gives the work an additional opportunity to tell its story. And I think, there could not be a better setting for a work about nature than in Eden Gardens, but site-specific work is a very important part of practice, I think. It is an absolute honour to be a part of this show, and I wanted to thank the curators and those that organised the show, because for an emerging artist such as myself, working in an exhibition of this kind is a truly remarkable opportunity and something that I'm so proud to be a part of, but also I think something that allows art to do something rare and unique for a broader audience of people. And I love the community aspect of it, and I just want to say thank you for letting me be a part of that.